So what skill are we covering today? Exactly how to do the step over. All right, so when doing that step over, a lot of players will start behind the ball and they'll throw their legs around it. But the problem is it never really turns your hips or your shoulders, so it's just not as believable. So when we want to do that step over, we generally want to be either behind and next to that ball or definitely to the side and next to that ball, so that when I go, it's going to look like I'm going to push it in that direction. I even have my foot planted like I'm going to push it with the inside of my foot, and I pretend to push it. And oh, look at that, I missed the ball and I plant past that ball on the opposite side. So notice what I'm doing here. I'm using the foot furthest from the ball to pretend like I'm gonna push the ball. I miss it last second, and then that back leg is coming around behind the ball. So notice my right leg pretends to take it but misses to the front, and my left leg comes around from behind so that I can explode out in that other direction. So again here, very important, when we do this, notice what happens to my shoulders. They're not gonna stay and pointed towards you. We want to make sure that when we go to take this touch, pretend touch, we want to make sure that we're turning our hips and our shoulders, so again it's more believable, so that we can attack in the opposite direction. So now it's very important to understand in what game situation would we want to use this. Doing the step over is not an attacking forward skill, and I'm going to tell you a skill that a lot of people confuse this for later in this video. But a step over is not an attacking forward skill. I'm not going to be running at full speed and then turning my hips completely in the opposite direction and losing momentum that I've generated running forward. It just doesn't make sense. It slows you down, and I would highly recommend not doing it. So this skill is much better to do when you're along a sideline. Pretend to taking it back to your goal, missing it, and then continuing to attack up the field. Or another situation is when your back is facing the direction that you actually need to go. And from here, you're pretending to take the ball in one way, getting that defender to bite to the side that you're going, and then quickly exploding and pushing out after you do the skill. Now, what did I just say there? Quickly exploding. You've got to commit to this skill. So important that when we do this, we are pretending to take it, we turn those shoulders, we miss that ball, and then I better be pushing and I better be exploding out. Because that defender is behind you and you can't necessarily see them, you've got to commit 100% to the fact, to the mindset that this skill is going to work. So do it explosively and push that ball out explosively to get away from that defender. So in the comments below, let me know, is this a skill that you typically use in a game? Say yes or no to let me know whether this step over is something you normally use. Now, personally, I don't find myself in many situations to use this skill because I often find that passes when my back is facing the net is going to be a lot better option. Passes to those wingers, passes to that attacking center midfielder. However, when I do find situations to use this skill, maybe if I'm playing a wing back or an outside midfielder or winger, I do find situations and I'll definitely use this skill because it's great to use when your back is facing the direction you need to go. So as I mentioned before, we want to avoid using this skill when the ball is directly in front of us. We don't want this ball directly in front of us and we're doing the skill from here because it's just a lot harder to turn our hips and it doesn't look as believable. Now, will it still work? Yeah, probably 70-80% of the time. But why take that chance? Get to the ball, get to the side of the ball a little bit more and pretend to take it so you can fully turn those hips and it's even more believable so that it'll work 90-95% of the time. So making your skills more crisp is going to increase the number of times that they work for you. So now, when it comes to actually practicing this skill, notice I have 3 cones set up here, and in all reality, you don't even need the cones, but that's to help to act like a defender so that if you can get used to it in practice, it'll become easier to you at game speed. I definitely recommend with any of these skills that I show in these videos that you do practice in practices or against teammates because it's going to make it a lot more game-like. And the cones don't exactly move, but it's a great place to start. It's a great beginner spot to get comfortable with the skill so that then you can take it to practice so you're more comfortable there using it. So now notice, this is a skill that often I'm going to be either using along a sideline or if my back is facing the direction I need to go. So a quick and simple way that you can actually practice this is just standing next to that ball and all you're doing is stepping around, pushing, and exploding out. Okay, so from here, stepping around, pushing, boom, exploding out. Again, practicing your ability to make this believable. Starting with this ball outside your shoulder, pretending to push it, miss it, step past it, and explode. Foot furthest from the ball, stepping past it, and then pushing and exploding out. But now, as you want to develop it a little bit more, pretend this line right here is the sideline line. So as I'm going and attacking, what I can do is actually push the ball towards, and I'd have a defender there that I'm trying to pretend like I'm taking it back towards my net, but I'm gonna miss the ball, do this, step over it, and then attack forward. So let me demonstrate it for you. So notice there with that skill, I'm pretending to take it back towards you, which often in a game is back towards my own net. I'm expecting this defender to, okay, I see him going back, they're starting to take that step in, and then boom, you're exploding out. So let me demonstrate that one more time. And remember, with nearly all skills, being able to explode after that skill is gonna buy you a lot of time, space, and room so that you can think, act, dribble, shoot, pass, whatever you're gonna need to do. So for that pro tip, a lot of soccer analysts, broadcasters, players, even coaches will call the step over, they'll call it the scissor, they'll use those terms interchangeably. They mean both of the same things, but anytime you're stepping around the ball in either direction, they call it the same thing. However, for a soccer player that's learning to use their foot skills, having the same name for different skills doesn't make a whole lot of sense for you to get better, for you to learn this stuff and to you to know exactly the difference between both of them. So remember, a step over is when I'm pretending to take that ball, I'm missing, and I'm attacking by. Notice the leg furthest from the ball is getting around the ball, and that back leg is coming behind. Now, with a scissor, notice I'm planting past that ball. I'm stepping, turning my shoulders, and I'm pushing out. Remember, the step over, what we're going over today, is a skill to use with that defender at your back. However, the scissor, when we're going from the leg furthest from the ball towards the other foot and around to where we're stepping past that ball and allowing it to roll through, that's much more an attacking forward skill where that defender's backpedaling. That's definitely when you want to use that skill. So again, for this channel, I'm going to use the step over and the scissor as different things so that it helps you, the viewer, understand the difference between each of them.